Hi, my name is Grant Jones. I'm a junior at Milford High School. I've been coming to Mosaic for a little over a year now. The beginning of my journey in Christ started in probably late 6th grade year. I was being led off a path, God's path, and I was doing things that I definitely shouldn't have been doing. I was cussing, I was hanging out with the wrong people, and I was growing farther apart from Christ. He was walking right behind me, I turned the other way. Going into 7th grade year, I struggled with confidence, self-esteem. I was very lonely. 8th grade year, you could see the pieces maybe starting to form together, but I still wasn't turning around. I wasn't facing God or the direction, that He wanted me to go or that He had planned. And then around 9th grade year, God brought some very good people into my life. He brought in friends that go to Mosaic, and around that time, something clicked in my mind, and I was like, I don't know what I've been doing. I need to follow God. And I told my friend Jonas Warren I wanted to grow closer to God, and the first thing he told me was, read the Bible. And I was like, thanks, Jonas. I was a little bit like, okay, well, I already knew that. I was a little worried about this. And he was like, well, maybe you could try out my church sometime. And I was like, really? What is it? He said Mosaic, and I talked to 3 other people about it, Zion, Isaiah, and Juliana, and they all said, you should come to youth. And I tried it, and to be honest, the only reason I went that night was because my friends went to the church, and I really just wanted to hang out with them. But after that night, I distinctively remember telling my dad, as soon as we got in the car, I said, I want to come back here. I'm going to come back here. And I was like, we're bringing Nora too, who's my sister. And the next week we came back, and the next week and the next week, and I could just feel a real bond starting to grow. And one night after a sermon that Sobe gave, I was like confused. And I remember I sent him a message, and I was like, hey, what is this? What does this mean? How do I do this? And he was like, oh, that's cool. We could go to lunch sometime and talk about it. And that started to happen. And I was able to ask all these questions about God and things that I never knew before. And I started to grow even closer to Him. And there were definitely times I was tested, but every time that I turned around, He was still there. And I'm so glad that I made the decision to follow Christ, because I know that I'm forgiven. I know that I'm loved. And after coming to Mosaic for about a year and a half, I have definitely grown in my faith. And I've said this before, I would do a lot of things to get to the spot I am now, because about a year and a half ago, I was so desperate to hear from God. And now I feel like I do that pretty consistently. I can definitely feel Him in my life. So it's just really cool for that to be able to happen. If I was a student confused and wondering about my faith and worrying about, what the future is going to be in my walk with God, there's 2 things that I would do. And the first one is kind of an obvious one, but it has really helped me, is continue to ask questions, and you can find these answers through the Bible. I really, really struggled with just keeping my thoughts inward, and that kind of led me into a spiral and downward spiral. And I think once I started to voice those questions and really seek for those answers in the Bible and through pastors, and I was able to find the answers that really helped me dive deeper into that faith and kind of pulled me back in. And secondly, I've learned more about faith and how faith isn't built on emotion. Faith is it's a constant reassurance in God, no matter if you're in a really comfortable situation or a not very comfortable situation. It's just continuing to follow Him and go back to Him, because there's going to be some days where you are praising God and you're up on a mountain, and there's going to be other days where you're broken down and you don't want to do this anymore. You've just got to keep going for it. You got to keep going back to God. So